Long before time had a name, Ninjago was created in a mystical land known as Denmark. And by long before time had a name, I mean 13 years ago, which, saying it out loud, makes all my hair turn grey in an instant, knowing that there are actually Ninjago fans out there that are younger than Ninjago itself. And if you're one of those younger fans, then what are you doing watching this video? Isn't it like your bedtime or something? Of course, I'm just kidding. The more the merrier, especially if you decide to like the video and subscribe, oink oink. Every Ninjago fan, new and old, absolutely should know the origin story of how Ninjago came to be. Every single minute detail. It's like a test you have to pass in order to become a proper Ninjago fan. Even wasting your time and money has a barrier of entry. I'm not going to bore you all by actually going into every single minute detail on how Ninjago was created, as you should really already know. I'll just give a short and more summarized version of the iconic tale. Back in the far gone year of 2009, LEGO decided they wanted to revive their old LEGO Ninja theme with a new Ninja series that focused around Ninja with elemental powers, which, as we all should know, led to Tommy Andresen and many other talented people who we no doubt have all given New York apartments through the millions of dollars Ninjago's earned, coming together and throwing all sorts of ideas together until in 2011, Ninjago was dumped out into the world and allowed to reign free and lay siege to every other ninja-based toy out there. That's pretty much the very basic version of the story of how Ninjago came to be that we've all known for literally over a decade. But that's really only half of the true origin of Ninjago, as for over a decade, the other half of Ninjago's origin has been kept a secret. Not because there's anything illegal about it, I think, but probably just because LEGO doesn't want to share the billions of dollars worth of revenue that Ninjago has raked in. So I ask you now to prepare yourselves, as finally after all these years, the secret origin of Ninjago shall finally be told to the masses. What you will hear will change everything you know about Ninjago. Maybe, possibly, I don't really know, you'll have to let me know in the comments below. Everything we'll be discussing in this video comes from the very talented and generous Mike Rayhawk, who has oh so graciously gifted us with many wonderful pieces of Ninjago artwork that you've no doubt seen before and will also be seeing for the very first time. Mike Rayhawk was a former designer at LEGO, who of course had the greatest honour of working on Ninjago, and maybe was even the true creator of the series itself. Our story begins in the very ancient past, also known as 2003, which to be fair is pretty much the very ancient past, being 2 decades ago. Wow, so that actually makes Ninjago over 20 years old. Congratulations Ninjago, you can now officially drive a car and drink alcohol. Just maybe don't do them at the same time. In 2003, Ninjago was not known as Ninjago quite yet, instead being given the name of Spirit Defenders by a mysterious person only known as Wong, who also drew this incredible piece of art, showcasing 2 armies going into battle, one side being undead ninja and the other skeleton samurai. The idea for the Spirit Defenders theme was that it was about an army of sorceress ninja battle against an army of samurai skeletons for control of ancient shrines, which certainly sounds very familiar to the Ninjago pilots. Mike would get his hands on this piece of artwork in 2004 and have his own go at the concept, creating this concept board, renaming it from Spirit Defenders to Ninja Ghosts, which is literally Season 5 summed up in 2 words. The premise for this version of Ninjago was that on the night of the lunar eclipse, the dragon sorceress escapes from the underworld with her ninja ghosts to besiege the monastery and seize the golden katanas. To stop them, the monastery keeper and his daughter must gather magic scrolls that hang on the iron temple bell before the eclipse ends. Ringing the bell summons the scroll's elemental samurai spirits, the adaptable green archer of wood, the immovable grey pikeman of stone, and the elusive blue horseman of water. A lot from this old concept wouldn't be used for Ninjago, but a good bit of it would serve to help lay the groundwork for what made Ninjago, Ninjago, such as the golden katanas, which of course became the golden weapons of Spinjitzu, and the usage of elemental powers, stone and wood most likely becoming earth and nature, while water just remained water obviously. Now this is just me reaching incredibly far, like Mr. Fantastic levels of reaching far, but hearing about the dragon sorceress and lunar eclipse, I can't help but think about how Dragon's Rising has its source dragons, and in Season 2, the Blood Moon Ritual, which if you ask me sounds pretty similar to what this original pitch is going for. Did LEGO maybe dig up this old concept to use some of it for Dragon's Rising Season 2? Looking at the artwork, we can see a ninja using a climbing hook, and cough cough, the ninja used climbing gear in the newest season. One of the most interesting parts about this concept is that the wise monastery keeper and his daughter were early versions of Wu and Nia, which is such a strange thing to think about, and wonder what kind of Ninjago we would have now if LEGO kept that concept of Wu and Nia being related. Mike also drew what is possibly the very first version of Garmadon, being this very demon-masked looking warrior, proudly showing off their entire bare chest. I can only imagine that LEGO wouldn't be too pleased with printing a pair of nipples on a LEGO torso. In 2004, Mike would also create this concept known as Infinite Realms. Not exactly meant for Ninjago, but most of the ideas from this concept would eventually end up being reworked into Ninjago, namely the whole Realms concept being cut down to 16 instead of the proposed infinity, because that no doubt would have been impossible to make happen back then. You can spot quite a few iconic Ninjago ideas within this concept sketch. There's this four-armed character which Ninjago would steal several times, a floating temple right in the middle, straight up just a Destiny's Bounty, and a battle with a sky pirate which is ripped right out of my beloved Skybound. Dragons Rising would pretty much copy the entire premise of this Infinite Realms pitch, with all of the realms combining into one and creating a world incredibly similar to the sketch provided. The timeline would then go quiet until the years 2009 and 2011, in which LEGO's failed attempt at an MMO was in production and playable to the public, being LEGO Universe, which was actually one of the first times Ninjago was showcased to the world, which I have already made a video all about, so you can go watch that after this one, maybe, please and thank you. As part of Mike's work on LEGO Universe's Ninjago content, he and other artists would create this very Christmassy Ninjago poster in 2011, giving us somewhat of a glance at a potential Ninjago Christmas special, which we are destined to only ever get in the form of promotional images. Speaking of promotional images, this would pretty much consume the majority of poor old Mike's life, giving us the most iconic promotional material for Ninjago. Along with these sorts of promotional images, Mike would also work on the packaging side for the numerous Ninjago products that is no doubt taking up way too much space in all of our households. Which leads me to what is, in my opinion, the most interesting piece of information and concept art out of this entire video, but I'm being very biased as it's heavily related to Skybound. We all know that 2016 was the year that blessed us with Season 6, but the idea and concept for this season was actually developed by good old Mike, many years before Ninjago was even properly created. This right here is a concept sketch from 2004, 20 years ago, somewhat, technically, not really making Skybound 20 years old, which is genuinely insane to think about. You can clearly see that this sketch had to have been used for Skybound in some capacity, as this Zeppelin skybase as labelled in the artwork was for sure reworked into the Raid Zeppelin. Moving on from this incredible revelation, let's direct focus onto the box art for the Skybound sets themselves. I believe I'm pretty qualified for this next section, as I made an entire video talking all about Ninjago box art, which you should totally check out as it would really help me convince the mental ward I am not insane. We all know the very classic Skybound box art, the red banner on top with an image of Jay in the top right with lightning spreading across the top header. Should be no surprise that this is one of my favourite box arts Ninjago has ever had. But at some point in development, the box art for the Skybound sets was going to be completely different, that also tied into a very different version of the Skybound season itself. Within the Skybound season, Jay got his eye patch after enduring several rounds of scrap and tap, giving us the peak Jay look before it's wrongfully taken from our hands in literally the very next episode. But according to Mike, who had access to an earlier version of the script for the Skybound season, Jay's eye patch was actually meant to come from Jay being injured in a fire, forcing him to wear an eye patch which would make the people of Ninjago think that he was actually working with the Sky Pirates. This original idea for Jay's eye patch can be seen with this alternate design for the header of the Skybound box art, the left side of Jay's head being scarred by the fire and his eye patch proudly being worn. Ever since I found out about this lost eye patch Jay header for the Skybound sets, I've cried myself to sleep every night, knowing that we are so close to total peak perfection. I honestly don't think I'll ever forgive LEGO for not giving Jay's eye patch on the Skybound box art. Don't get me wrong, I do love what we got in the end, but there's no denying that if Jay had his eye patch, it would have been 10 billion times cooler and every single Skybound set would have sold 1 billion copies each, most of them being me plunging myself into unfathomable levels of debt. Why don't we put a pause on covering Mike's work from the Ninjago show, as Mike was unlucky enough to end up working on some of the LEGO Ninjago movie, which has gotta count as some form of workplace harassment. As part of Mike's work on the Ninjago movie, he produced this incredible looking poster for the film, featuring what looks like young Garmadon from the rejected time travel plot of the movie, fighting Miss Lloyd for supposedly some mega weapon, which is so interesting to see it was considered for the movie at some point. And all the way at the top of the poster, we have this awesome new design for the Great Devourer, being incredibly intimidating with their sharp teeth and sharp, somewhat armoured looking scales. We also have this large landscape artwork depicting an earlier story of the Ninjago movie, featuring the Serpentine army that would be reworked for Season 7, with this terrifying spider snake in the background. We can also see the ninja wearing somewhat different suits than the final film. Kai's fire mech that just looks the exact same, a different version of the beloved Ninjago city set, Lloyd's mech dragon in a mainly white colour instead of the final green, and a massive brick-built Great Devourer that looks like it has control over magma. Once again, we can also spot a version of the mega weapon, which I absolutely would have preferred over a laser pointer. I won't torture you all with any more talk about the Ninjago movie, as now we're going to make this a little more topical by shifting to look at some Dragons Racing concept art, starting with these alternate designs for Ryu and Eren, originally being named Max.
Now that's a name I've not heard in a long time. A long time.
Eren was originally going to be a more streetwise and slick character, having his own handmade ninja suit, which looks pretty cool, with a dragon headband and purple and green colour scheme. Ryu is completely different from the final version, being actually brick built and looking pretty sickly with all of the green on his body. Sora was also going to be completely different, being a non-human character with her blue skin, being a sort of tribute to Akita with her very kitsune furry based appearance. As we all know, however, LEGO instead went with turning Sora into an e-girl, which honestly I don't think is any better than a kitsune furry. No new Ninjago show would be complete without the villains, of course, with these original designs really leaning into the fact that Chima had merged with Ninjago, with this being an older design for Rapton. Before becoming everyone's favourite brony, he was once going to be a dragon hunting wolf from Chima. And then there's this absolute beefcake of Lord Roz. This right here is a savage version, which is pretty much just a basic big fig piece with a large Lavelle head slapped on top, which still looks incredibly menacing and threatening. I think we're long overdue for another Ninjago big fig, and this would have been incredible to get. But not as incredible as the other design for Roz, which was made to tie into Imperium's more Grease-like vibe at the time, giving Roz this lavish attire, even complete with a large white cape, which could have been awesome to have in actual LEGO form. Roz being a tiger is a whole lot more noticeable here, having two different fur colours and a whole tail at the back, looking like somebody laced Tony the Tiger's Frosted Flakes with steroids. I so wish that this was the Roz we got. Seeing the ninja fight against a beast like this would have been awesome, and incredibly one-sided, as this Roz could break the ninjas' backs all with a sneeze. Needless to say, I think that this Mike guy is owed billions from LEGO, as he has no doubt contributed so much to the identity of Ninjago and paving the way for it to become the massive success it is today. I mean, if Mike doesn't want the billions he is owed, then I will gladly take them myself. Don't worry, I'd be very wise with the money and use it to buy another one of these.